Hello, I'm Dr. Robert Royal. I'm the president of the Faith and Reason Institute in Washington, D.C., and the editor of The Catholic Thing, which is a daily column series that appears online 365 days a year. I'm also a consultant to Aid to the Church in Need USA, which is located in New York City in the United States. And this podcast is one of a series that is being produced jointly by my Faith and Reason Institute and Aid to the Church in Need. It's called Faith Under Siege. So we're fortunate to have with us today His Beatitud Sviatoslav Shevchuk, who is the major Archbishop of Kiev in Ukraine and is the primate of Ukraine as well. And as I'm sure many of our listeners and our viewers know, Ukraine is a country that is under siege right now, under attack from Russia and having many problems within. So we thought it would be wonderful to talk with the Archbishop. Archbishop, we're grateful to you. He's in Kiev. I'm in Washington, D.C. We're grateful to you that you made some time for us today, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Best greetings from Kiev, from Ukraine.
Right. So listen, to begin, I'm going to start in a different place than many people might expect, because I think that many of the people in the English-speaking world know about the situation of the war in Ukraine, but I think they probably know less about the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church, of which you are the head in that country. Can you just tell us a bit about what the UGCC is and what it does?
Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church is very unique Christian community, Catholic Christian community in Ukraine, because in one hand, has nothing to do with Greece. We were called Greek Catholics by Austro-Hungarian Empire, just to be distinguished from the Roman Catholic Church. So we are the Church of Kiev, which received our baptism from the Constantinople Patriarchate, and we follow Byzantine Rite in Ukraine. But our church renewed communion with Pope of Rome, with the successor of Peter, in the end of the 16th century, 1596. And from that time, we live our communion with the whole universal Catholic Church, which today join 21 Eastern Catholic churches. And our Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church is the biggest Eastern Catholic Church in the Catholic communion worldwide. On the Soviet period,
So how many million Greek Catholics are there in Ukraine?
Today, according to the last sociological survey, we are 7 million in Ukraine, which means 12% of population. But also we have a very large international community. The majority of our church structures are outside of Ukraine. We have our eparchies, our dioceses in Canada, in the United States. Our metropolitan is based in Philadelphia, and we have our eparchies in Stanford, in Parma, Ohio, in Chicago. But also we have our metropolis in Brazil, Argentina, Australia, and Western Europe as well. So we are the global presence which keep this tradition of the Kievan Church, Byzantine Rite, in different countries of the world.
Yes, my wife is part of that Ukrainian diaspora. She grew up in Rochester, New York, and we used to visit the Ukrainian churches there and the beautiful Byzantine masses that you actually celebrate in that church. This is all quite fascinating. So could you tell us a bit, too, since you're about 12% of the population, you say, I know that you have other Christian bodies in Ukraine. You have a couple of different Orthodox churches that, as I understand it, have been split up because of the tensions with Moscow and Constantinople, et cetera. Can you just tell us briefly about your relationship with the other Christian bodies in your country?
Well, Ukraine is multi-confessional and multi-ethnical cultures, and multi-ethnical and multi-religious society. majority of Ukrainians, more than half of population, declare themselves to be an Orthodox, belonging to different jurisdictions, different groups. The majority, 35% of population, belong to the autocephalic Ukrainian Orthodox Church, which recently, 7 years ago, received a tomos, which means the recognition of their independency from the Ecumenical Patriarchate of Constantinople. There is a group, 5% of population, which is in communion, in unity with the Moscow Patriarchate, even under the full-scale invasion of Russia. But also we have more or less 15% of the Orthodox in Ukraine who declare themselves to be a free Orthodox, to not belong to each of jurisdictions. That group is those people who probably in the past were part of the Moscow Patriarchate Church, but because of this crisis of identity which the Russian aggression provoked in them, they walk away from their church, and there being that big wound inside of them to be betrayed by their mother church. So there's an inner tragedy, of the Orthodox identity. Our church tried to develop good relationship with everybody. So in Ukraine we have a unique NGO. Rabbi of Ukraine used to say the most powerful NGO in Ukraine, called the Ukrainian Council of the Churches and Religious Organizations,
Interesting.
which is composed both with Orthodox, Catholics, Byzantine and Roman Catholics, and different groups of Protestant denominations, but also by Jewish communities and Muslim communities. And this Council of Churches and Religious Organizations represents 75% of population of Ukraine, and good space for the cooperation between different religions, different Christian communities, in behalf of the common good of the people of Ukraine.
Good. Yeah. Well, listen. Let me ask you, since you brought up this question, I'm curious about myself about what effect this war has had on religious practice. I have to assume that people under pressure from warfare turn to God more frequently than maybe they did in the past. Have you been seeing that? And is this Council of Churches working at all with whatever groups, whether it's governments or private organizations, to try to do something about bringing this war to an end?
First, so war is a most difficult situation, most irrational situation for the human being. War is a big crime and sin against God and against humanity. But also war brings destruction, and we are deeply wounded because of the effect of that war. As a private persons, as a churches, communities, as a church society as well. Let me present you some numbers just to make you clear which kind of humanitarian situation we face today in Ukraine. According to the recently issued statement of the protection of civilians in armed conflict of the United Nations, 2025 was a most deadly year in Ukraine. So the number of civilians who were killed and injured in this year, 31% increased comparing to the 2024, and 70% increase comparing with the year 2023. So the escalation of war in Ukraine is increasing, and we as churches, first of all, we're trying to save and protect human life. We are trying to do everything in order to prevent that this big humanitarian crisis, which always is accompanying war, will not deteriorate to the humanitarian tragedy. Right now, in this moment, we undergoing the most difficult period of winter time. The daily temperatures are dropping below 10, even 20 degrees of Celsius each day. So, and many people are freezing because Russia destroys the vital infrastructure of our cities. The main target is a city of Kiev. So in those circumstances, all churches are trying to cooperate in order to provide electricity, heating for the people, food, shelter, all which is necessary to save a human life in the middle of severe winter time. And I would call this cooperation between the churches responding to the tragedy of war an existential ecumenism. Because we are united in our response to save the human lives. Cooperating, helping each other. We would not ever ask who you are. Are you Orthodox? Are you Protestant? Are you Catholic? In order to provide an adequate humanitarian aid to those people. And because of this, I would say, vital cooperation between the churches, we are united in our common voice in behalf of the victims of the war to the global Christian international religious society. So we are grateful to those efforts which today in the international level are brought out in order to stop the war, to use the instrument of diplomacy in order to stop aggression, because we know that each war later or sooner will end with a peace agreement. So, and that's so important that peace agreement will respect human dignity, will respect human rights, because there is no sustainable peace without justice and truth. Without a care for the human rights on those for those people who remain the occupied territories. So Ukraine is not a simple territory.
Right.
We are people who are with our dignity, and that is a mission of the church to protect those people and speak in behalf of their rights.
So let me ask you this. Aid to the Church in Need, which, as I mentioned earlier, is one of the co-sponsors of this whole series, was founded initially actually to help with the countries behind the Iron Curtain under communism back during the Cold War. And I know that they've been helping a lot in Ukraine even now. I myself am a friend of, you mentioned before, Archbishop Boris Gudziak in Philadelphia here in the United States, and we have relations with him as well. We try to talk with him about what can we do, and we do put some support for Ukraine through him. But what has Aid to the Church in Need and other international bodies or international institutions been active with you in Ukraine to deal with this humanitarian situation?
Well, first of all, I'll take this possibility to express our deep gratitude to our friend and all donors and benefactors of the Church in Need organizations for supporting our church and supporting the Christians in Ukraine. Maybe this will be my personal story, but I started my way to the priesthood in the underground seminary. And I remember this moment of big resurrection of our church after the fall of the communism. And on that time, our bishops had nothing. They had no churches, no residences, no cars. And when some benefactors, even from USA, from Germany, from Church in Need, will come asking how we can help you, our bishops would ask as scholarships for the seminarians. And I was the one who received a scholarship from the
I
church
heard
in
that.
need. And I studied in Rome 5 years, receiving this support from church in need organizations. And I completed my doctoral studies in Rome. And I came back from those studies in 1991 and the first doctor in theology after the fall of the Soviet Union. And I immediately started to work in our seminary and in Ukrainian Catholic Academy in Lviv, later transformed in Ukrainian Catholic University. So thank you, first of all, for investing in the formation of the clergy and laity. And formation and education was a way of transformation of the Ukrainian society from the post-Soviet society to the authentically democratical, free society. Because freedom, it's something which comes from the spirit, but have to be taught and educated. So people have to learn how to act in freedom. But also, especially when this war started back in 2014, immediately Church in Need organization helped us to provide a humanitarian aid to the people who were in the humanitarian emergency, especially in the eastern, southern, and central Ukraine. So thank you very much for this cooperation, for saving literally human lives. And because of this worldwide Catholic Christian solidarity, we were able to prevent this deterioration of the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine, which affects millions of people. So thank you very much for your support, cooperation, specifically to the education of the clergy and laity. And because we had this well-trained people, we were able to face those challenges of the war trauma, which we are going through right now.
I don't think many people know, but there's a very significant Ukrainian Catholic university in your country. Could you talk a little bit about the role that that plays? I know my wife has been in contact with certain people there when the war first started, and we were getting good information from some of the professors there about the actual situation that people were facing. But could you just tell us a little bit about the role that that university has played?
Well, I have a privilege and honor to be major chancellor of the Ukrainian Catholic University. That kind of university was some sort of dream of my predecessors. Patriarch Joseph Slipy, the confessor of faith and prisoner of the Stalin prisons and concentration camps. And when Ukraine was risen up as an independent country, Ukrainian Catholic University was the first and unique Catholic university in the post-Soviet space, in all this huge territory where so many countries were born. Ukrainian Catholic University was a space of new standards for the education in the educational system of Ukraine. Even on that time, we brought to Ukraine the highest standard of the education in order to offer that possibility for the Ukrainian youth to find those standards in Ukraine and not to be forced to leave Ukraine to go to study somewhere else outside of Ukraine. And in this way, in those 20 years, we were able to train an elite of Ukrainian society. And today, those who finished Ukrainian Catholic University are in leading position in different parts of Ukrainian society. Many of them are fighting in the front line as militaries. Many of them are well-trained lawyers, well-trained administrative leaders in different kind of position in the state structures. So that is a space of new standard, of new way of thinking, and it is how we were able to be well prepared to face this big challenge of war today.
Yeah, I've been involved through the Faith and Reason Institute with some support from Aid to the Church in Need for the past 25 years in an educational program in Slovakia, which is, of course, right on the border with Ukraine. We try to teach the students about the free society. And in fact, some of the better students we've had have come from Ukraine, and they know really what a value of a free society is, having experienced one that wasn't so very free. We're getting near the end of our time, so I'd like to just pose a more general question to you. A lot of us in the West would like to be able to help in a situation like you're experiencing in Ukraine. So, what is it that you need the most, and what ways can we help provide what you need? Because we know that the Ukrainian war right now is perhaps the most painful situation in the world. Obviously, there are other situations like Gaza, the persecution of Christians in Nigeria, etc. There seems to be an uprising at this moment in Iran, but Ukraine, belongs so much to our culture, our European cultural background, that a lot of us, I think, feel that battle is going to be an important one for the immediate future. So, just in general terms, can you tell us what you need and what we can do?
Well, first of all, support a church in need organization. Be a good friend of this organization, and you will be updated in our needs. Because each year we present our projects, very specific projects for the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church, and you will have a very concrete and immediate chance to be part of those projects approved by the Church in Need in Ukraine in the cooperation of our church. But there are three main priorities of our pastoral assistance to the people of Ukraine today. First one is education and formation. So that is our policy, not to invest into the buildings, into the dead things, but to invest into the persons. So we do need to have well-trained specialists in order to transform our society and to make grow the church in Ukraine. The second is a social service of Ukraine. We have to have a means in order to assist to those who are in need. Today, according to United Nations numbers, there are 6.5 million people in Ukraine in the food emergency in the middle of winter time. So state, the worldwide organizations of United Nations will be able to provide a help for half of them. So almost 3 million of Ukrainians are left out of the outreach of this international network of solidarity. So Catholic Church is taking care of those people. And third one is a long-term challenge and our pastoral care, the healing of the wounds of war. Because we know that all we are wounded, even myself. After each night airstrikes, perhaps we realize that we are falling into the overactivity. That stress which you leave always lead us to do something. And if we will be able to canalize well this energy to help the others, so we will be healed. So it is why the healing of the wound, not only of the militaries, but also civilians, children, women, will be the biggest challenge for our society for the decades. Even more, today, even in the level of the Ukraine government, we make to realize that the future of Ukraine, our capability to withstand, our resiliency, relying on our capability to deal with this war trauma. Ukraine is wounded, but Ukraine is resilient. But we have to take care of those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this long-term program for mental health, for spiritual assistance to those who were injured psychologically, physically, will be our pastoral program for next decades. So please be our friend and partners in this very important mission of the church in Ukraine today.
Well, Archbishop, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for sharing us these insights and your own personal experience of what's going on there. And so let's just say to anyone listening or watching this, there are many things we can do. Obviously, we can pray for you. We can support you financially through various channels. And also, I think we need to spread the word. And one of the reasons why we're doing this series about faith under siege is that a lot of people don't realize how much Christians around the world are being assaulted, persecuted, and even martyrdom of Christians in these days. So, Archbishop, thank you very much. We're all pulling for you. We'll keep you in mind. We'll pray for you. And we hope to see you again sometime very soon.
Thank you. And we pray for our benefactors.
Thank you.
Ukraine, pray for you.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm Robert Royal, and this is our series of Faith Under Siege, sponsored by the Faith and Reason Institute in Washington, D.C., and Aid to the Church in Need USA in New York City. So please come subscribe to these podcasts, come back and see us often. And I think you'll be quite interested in the series of stories and heartbreaking situations of Christians who are suffering for their faith around the world. So we hope to see you again, or if you're listening, then seek us out through whichever channels you use for your podcast. There are many different platforms that will be available on. And goodbye until next time.